Hi, everyone, and a warm welcome to this month's episode of the Releasing the Real You show, where we have guests all around health, well-being, and anything that somehow relates to it. So this month, I'm really excited to have Shaileen Shah with us. First time, actually. We have a male participant. So I just thought, yeah, why not? It's not all female related, so all good. So Shaileen is a happiness coach. So a little bit of a different subject this month. He's a happiness coach, speaker, and trainer. And through his company, Happy Life Habits, is rewiring the hearts and the minds for better happiness, well-being, and productivity. So that's where the well-being comes in as well, because we can talk about happiness, but actually when we do feel happy, we do feel better. So let's see how it goes today. So Shaileen, first of all, warm welcome to this show.
Yeah, no, thank you, Anne, and thank you for the opportunity of inviting me to come and share on your podcast. Really excited and pleased to be part of it. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Great. So tell me a little bit about what you do, but more importantly as well, how did you get started?
Sure. So I label myself as a happiness coach, speaker, and trainer. And through the company Happy Life Habits, positively impacting happiness and well-being levels. So I've trained in the science of happiness, and it's an extension of what people may have heard of as positive psychology. And so it's giving science to practices and things which can make us happier. In the past, people used to ask, what makes people depressed or makes people sad? And then the question was turned on its head by Martin Seligman and others to ask what makes people happy. And that brought about this whole area of research and science. And what they found is a lot of it is related to ancient wisdom practices from many cultures in the past, like gratitude, mindfulness, and connection, and meaning and purpose. So that's the area I'm in, and that's what I like learning about and sharing. Prior to becoming a happiness coach, speaker, and trainer, I was in corporate work, working in IT for one of the well-known banks, which went into trouble during the financial crisis. And also during my time at the bank, I did experience work-related stress. So, had to take some time off from work. And it's during those times that I reflected and took some time out and put some of these practices into place, which then have served me and become part of my habits. And then when I did leave the bank through a redundancy, pretty much almost 6 years ago now, I took some time out to decide what to do next in my chapter of life. And one thing that was important to me was having some time freedom and also doing the things which align with my values and the things that I've enjoyed. And for many years, I've enjoyed talking and learning and sharing what I learned and doing workshops in the community space, in voluntary work, and very much personal development as well. So all of those came together to say, let's give this a go of sharing what I'm spending my time learning and making it into a business. So that's how that has been. And part of that journey also, just to give the full context, is for more than 25 years, so since in my 20s, I got exposed to personal development. So Tony Robbins, did the Firewalk experience in my 20s, and that put me on the journey to personal development, as well as Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So both of those together, set my path on personal development. And since then, it's been continuously exploring and learning that. And a similar time, spirituality and learning about my own faith has developed. And so I saw a lot of congruence between the two. And as time has gone by, personal development, science of happiness, and spirituality are the realms, and where they intersect is the area I like to play in.
That's really interesting. So yeah, I mean, so many people. I used to work in the corporate world as well, so I know what stress levels are, and for me, it was really sleep and exercise that kind of relieved it, as opposed to anything else. At the time, I was totally not in the personal development era. It's something that I discovered much later than that. So yeah, that's really, really interesting. That's what kind of, I love the question actually, because especially today with mental health issues, most people talk about, how does it happen, etc. And I love the twisting it round is what makes people happy as opposed to what makes people sad. I love that way. I mean, when I coach clients, especially when it comes to weight loss, it's not about thinking about what you can't have, but let's put a list together of what you can have. So it just switches that mindset totally
Absolutely.
around to a positive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot more encouraging. It gives
Mm,
people more hope, and it also just provides a different focus. So it's a
yeah.
reframe. And then, instead of asking what went wrong, it's like asking what went right.
Yeah.
And and part of why this is important is our world is based on a negative bias. We look at the
Mm,
news and we look everywhere, and from our evolution, from over time, threat and danger has been there, and that's what causes us the stress and
yeah.
all of those things. But we haven't learned to adapt our uh, um, emotional regulation and skills in order to actually ascertain, is this really a threat or not, to let that cortisol and adrenaline pump in. And so, these various practices that we talk about of, exercise and mindfulness and gratitude and kindness are things which can help um, flush out those stress chemicals when they don't need to be there, as
Yeah.
well as boost the happier chemicals. So that's what I do
Really
love about this
interesting.
area. Yeah.
Definitely. So talking about gratitude, which is probably what we're going to focus on today. I mean, there's so many
Mm.
different things we could focus on, but let's talk about gratitude, because gratitude is something that um, I have to say, when I got um, uh, introduced to the personal development world, everyone was saying, "Oh, in the morning and the evening, you have to write things you're grateful about, especially in the morning. Start the morning positive, and write about what you're grateful of." I just wake up. What do you want me to write? And
Mm.
also when I was in a less good place, I'd say. I was told, well, write everything you're grateful about. I'm like, well, I'm not happy. Why would I want to write something? And I found it really, really repetitive, to be honest,
Yeah.
because I mean, there were a few things that I could be grateful about, that I had a roof over my head, that I had food on the table, but to me, those were kind of basic stuff, even though I'm very well aware that some people are not as fortunate as I am to have a roof over my head and food on the table. But why is gratitude so important, and what are the benefits from being grateful about things?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I'll cover some level of detail here, but obviously there's a whole lot more to it. So, for me, from my experience, gratitude plays a role on what I call the four either human dimensions or four dimensions of health or four dimensions of happiness. And these are the physical, the mental, the social emotional, and the spiritual. And so, with the practice of gratitude, it's um, crossing all four or stroke five of those areas. So when we practice gratitude, what we're doing is we're counting our blessings. We're saying thanks for what we already have in our lives. So often our lives are geared about what we don't have and what we're after and what we're chasing, whether it's the new job or it's the bigger bank account, and it's all of this external extrinsic stuff, and it's always chase, 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 chase. And sometimes when we don't meet those expectations, we feel disappointed. What the power of gratitude is just reminding us what we already have in our lives. The fact that, you know, uh, 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 we have good health or some level of health is fantastic. The fact that we have use of our limbs or some of our limbs, fantastic. That we live in, uh, or hopefully we live in a place which isn't war torn, place where we've got access to fresh water, to electricity. So it's really recognizing the gifts that we have in our lives. And in doing that, what happens is we are shifting away from thinking about ourselves which is often what we do. Me, I. And when we get given something, we're just thinking about us as the recipient. But with gratitude, when we take it away from just being a chore or an exercise or a tick list activity, and when we actually do get that feeling of gratitude in the heart and in our mind, what happens is as we think about what we have in our lives and what we're thankful for, we think about, yes, us as the recipient, but we think about the gift that we've been given, so what we're grateful for. We also think about where that gift has come from, whether it be someone else, whether it be nature or the universe or the Almighty, whichever you believe in. And that helps us stay humble and it takes us away from the ego. The other thing that gratitude does is it helps release the happy chemicals in our system. So as I was sharing before, we can be caught up with cortisol and adrenaline, the stress, chemicals in our system, which as they build up over a long period of time, can cause, many ailments and chronic pain and so forth, both in our mind and in our body and in our relationships and so forth. With gratitude, as we practice it, it releases, from my learning, three happy chemicals. So there's dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin. Some that people may have heard of is endorphins. So, when people are running and exercising, they get, the high. That's the endorphins being released. As far as I'm aware, that's not released during the practice of gratitude itself, but dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin are. So we're getting three happy chemicals released into our system. They're flushing out the stress ones, which cause us agitation and frustration and sadness, and they lift and shift our mood. So it's something that if we're feeling down or feeling sad, if we think about what we're grateful for, it can shift our mood very quickly. And in doing so, when we're in a positive frame of mind and in a happier mood, it allows us to move from victim mode to problem solving or to solution. So instead of just looking at the problem, we become solution focused. And the practice of gratitude also activates the learning centers in the brain. So as those learning centers are activated, we can find solutions. And that gives us hope and it rescues us and gives us optimism and it allows us to move forward. So what I'm saying is sadness, anger, grief, and frustration, and all of these other feelings that we have, which maybe aren't so beneficial to us, we don't ignore them. We acknowledge them, we embrace them because they're all part of our human makeup. But what we do is as we become aware of them and what we're feeling, then we can choose to say, do I want to continue feeling with this or am I ready now to move on? And if we're in a position to say I'm ready to now move on, then these practices of gratitude allow us to take a step forward and to move on and to start changing things. And the other thing that gratitude does with many other things as we make it a habit is it rewires the brain. So from, as I said, the world's on a negative bias. As we look for the good and as we practice gratitude, we see more of it. What we focus on becomes more of our reality and we see it more and more everywhere. And so we're getting those happy chemical hits and our vision is expanding and we're able to be more resourceful. So those are the things there. And what the science has shown is the regular practice of gratitude helps people's blood pressure and heart rate and those kind of things. It helps reduce stress, as we've already highlighted. People who practice gratitude tend to get a better quality of sleep and sleep longer. And we know sleep is a big thing that we do need in our lives. It helps from your world, in the weight loss world, it helps people with self-control and people who practice gratitude tend to exercise 1.5 hours longer over the course of either a week or a month. I'm not sure, I'll need to double check that, but it helps those areas. It helps, as I said, the learning center in the brain. So it helps us learn better. So for students, practicing some gratitude before a test is powerful. It helps our connection as well. So as we think about who we're grateful for, it helps with our relationships and it helps, on the spiritual level, if you're into spirituality of making us humble. And it's the mother of many other virtues that are and qualities which are there. It helps nurture those. So, lots and lots of benefits there. And one of the other ones which which has been shown. So people who had chronic pain who practiced gratitude had just for a few weeks started to experience less pain. It's helped people deal with cope with depression. It's helped people who are suicidal. So these people are suicidal. They wrote a letter of gratitude, and within that, a high percentage of them, I think 80 or 90% of them, started feeling optimism. So it could, very well have saved many of their lives. So it's a one which I feel permeates into every area of life and can really help us deal with life's challenges as well as take life's opportunities.
Sure. So I totally get, and I'm sure it's probably easier when you're already in a good place to, feel and go for gratitude. When you are in a low place for whatever reason, how do you get started? What would be kind of are there different methods of doing it, or how do you go from there? Like, how do you dig deep? Because I was always told, oh, as I said at the beginning, write down 3 things you're grateful for. But if you're not in a good place, it's really hard to dig deep inside and really feel something that is meaningful. Because as I said, yes, we're taking for granted that we have a roof over our head and stuff like that, but I didn't feel, when I did those basic stuff, and I call them basic, for other people it's massive, I didn't feel anything major happening, if I can say that way. So
yeah, no, that's absolutely cool. So what I will say is, obviously, it's easier to go into gratitude and practice gratitude if we're already practicing it. So, like all other things, if we have built that habit and that practice when we, in quotes, don't need it, it becomes easier to find that tool to use it.
Yeah.
And it's like, our car, we get it serviced and MOT regularly so that it, serves us. Our phone, we're charging it on a daily basis so that it's there to help to serve us. So similarly, with the gratitude, if we're able to practice it before we need it, it allows us, with that rewiring, to become aware that, okay, this is what I'm feeling, this is where I am, here's something that I've done before, which then allows me to go into it easier. So that's one part. If we've not practiced gratitude actively before and we're feeling low and tough, if we're in a position where we are aware that we want to change this, then whether it's finding information and reading about it, or listening to podcasts or YouTube videos, there's plenty on gratitude. Those could help shift us. But I guess the real important one aspect here is having a family or a friend or a coach who can help you with looking at that more regularly, help you with the accountability and guide in, and both with support and encouragement on practicing that gratitude. Left to our own devices, it's difficult until we've built that habit. So, one of the things I do is a 30-day gratitude gratitude journal training course. And with that, we start gently and, I hold people accountable and help them each day, give them feedback, on that gratitude. And we use a Facebook group to also practice gratitude. And over that period of time, slowly, gently, step by step, we build up so that at the end of the time period, they have this habit or 2 habits at least, which can serve and nurture them. So one is, again, I guess, awareness. So awareness of that these tools are available. 2 is choice, to choose to use those. And 3 is practice. And as we said, if we've practiced something beforehand, it's easier for us to go back to it. So riding a bike, if we've done it before, it's easier to get onto the saddle if we haven't for a while, or similar with driving. But if we've never done it and we're starting it, It is more challenging, but if we recognize the value and the benefits of it and have a strong enough why, then and the support and the environment to help,
Yeah.
we can do. And one of the things that I have been using for the last 6.5 years, and what I use in the course is a happiness journal. This isn't a gratitude journal; it's a happiness journal, and it just takes 5 minutes each day. And there's 3 positive psychology practices that you do in the morning and 2 at the end of the day. And I help people get started with that and teach them how to use it. So yeah, it's oops, sorry, having good support, having that recognition that we want to change, and looking for the things which can help us change. So if we
I definitely think
it's difficult, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely think that the missing point for me was knowing how to do it in a beneficial way. So, what would be a good way to? I mean, one of the things that I do now, for instance, is as I said, I'm not massive into gratitude, but in the evening, the one thing that I do is just before going to bed, or when I am in bed, actually, the last thing I do before switching the light off is write down the one good thing that happened to me today, just so that I know I go to sleep in a positive, on a positive note. All the others, as I said, I'm probably need to come on your course to develop a routine, develop the way of looking at it, and how to dig deep to bring out what would be beneficial. But from your experience, what would be a good routine? Do you need to do it daily? Is weekly enough? Do you need to do it morning and evening? Is once a month enough? What would be a good routine in your
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And it's wonderful what you're doing before you go to bed, because the messages we give to our mind if we go to sleep, the subconscious works on and works with. So it's great that you're feeding positivity into your mind. And that good thing, exercise you do, that is one of the evening routines in the journal. 3 good things that happened today. And what's that causing us to do is force us, even if we've had a rubbish day, to find the good that's happened there. And in fact, for me, that's gratitude in reverse. So it's finding the gratitude in what happened during the day. And when we can start the day with gratitude as well, with the things we're grateful for, and then specifically, yeah. So what I will share here is some practices that we can do in ways we can practice gratitude individually and as a wider group, as well as the frequency. So for me, gratitude on a daily basis is the best thing, because I understand that the rewiring happens on a daily basis. I understand that the happy chemicals get released, so I benefit from them on a daily basis. Similarly, we brush our teeth twice a day. We shower every day. If we didn't shower for a while or brush our teeth for a while, the effect wears off. So the positive habits of 5 fruit a day, or daily exercise, or gratitude, for me, are daily. And gratitude, sleep, and good hydration are my self-care must-haves each and every day, plus many others, but these are the kind of the core minimum. And with daily, what we can do is we can start the day with gratitude, which is a great thing to do. So we can write down 3 things we're grateful for. And if we write it, it's a little bit better than just thinking it. So hence, that aspect of journaling and writing it slows down the brain. It lets us savor and feel a little bit more. And also we've got it captured. So 3 weeks or 3 months later, we can come back and look on it and either re-savor that moment, but also see our growth. So that's one aspect. Thinking about gratitude like you do at the end of the day is another powerful one. Many cultures say grace before a meal. That's gratitude, thanking for the food that we're about to eat. So I started incorporating that into my daily routine as well, so that before a meal I try and say grace, or if I don't remember to say it during the before the meal, I say it during, and just quietly in my own head to say thank you for the food that I'm about to eat. So that's one which you can tie in easily with the meal times we have. Um, you could have a gratitude jar in the house, and then every time you feel gratitude and everyone else in the house feels gratitude, they can drop something in, and you can choose to either at the end of the day or at the end of the week take out the things which have gone into the jar and read them out as a collective. Um, Again, at meal times or family times, um, uh, we can ask, as we do, how was your day? What could happen? You can also say, what are we grateful for? And everyone share. That's a nice, powerful one. Um, so, yeah, the writing it, the gratitude journal, those are all the gratitude journal and the writing, like I said, is daily. The gratitude jar could be something that's done on a weekly basis. So you write it as and when during the week, but then you collectively come together and read it. Um, and then ones which are maybe less frequent, but still very powerful, is a gratitude letter. So you're writing a letter to someone, expressing what you're grateful for, and then either sharing it with them. And that's one of the practices we teach in the 30-day course as well. So it's different levels of and different ways of practice. And the thing with all of these things is trying out them for a little while and see which ones work for you and your lifestyle. So for some people, gratitude in the morning works. For me, it works because it primes the mind ready for the day. For others, it's at the end of the day. For others, it's just now and then. And with these things, the more we practice it, the more we see it. So sometimes during the day, I might not be writing what I'm grateful for as the day unfolds, but I'll recognize gratitude and I'll say, "Oh wow, I'm thankful for the cashier who's just opened up the till for me to pay for my goods," and I'll recognize it and I'll think about it and I'll feel it. And taking gratitude to one step further, and when we express it, that's what I call appreciation or thankfulness, or appreciation. So that's where we're letting someone else know when we're expressing our gratitude. So gratitude you can feel, you can think about it, you can keep it, within yourself. But when we express it, then I call that appreciation, and another positive quality. And also, gratitude naturally, fosters social connections and leads us to also be more kinder and more generous and more with the world, if that makes sense.
That is lovely, and I like the fact that there's so many different ways of doing it that everyone finds the way that works for them. It's same with, in my opinion, weight loss. You have to find what works for you and what fits within your lifestyle. But what I do love, and I know that's something that today especially we don't do enough as a family around the table, take some time to talk and to communicate. We are so engrossed when the TV's on or with the phones or those kind of stuff. And just taking, even if it's 10-15 minutes of meal time together, to even if it's just at the end of the week or the school week or every night even, would be even better, obviously. That I think is a very, very powerful thing for as a family as well, to come together. Something we lost over the years with TVs showing up and things like that. So that's really great.
Absolutely. Yeah, and when my son was little, 5, 6 years old, we'd got like a hardbound book or a journal, and we encouraged him to write gratitude there, and we all wrote in there, and then we'd read it out now and then, and that was a nice practice there. And yes, our distractions have increased as time has gone by, and our sense of connection with each other has become less. So that shared uh, that time when we share together and we share what we're grateful for fosters connection, but also, with gratitude and with journaling, they both help mental health as well as emotional well-being. So that's, really powerful. So we already said, they help on the physical and the spiritual, but definitely, on the mental health and the emotional. And it allows us to express what we're feeling instead of bottling it up, and support each other. So definitely
which is
so many
massively
benefits.
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Well, that's that makes me personally think about lots of things that I could add and change and do as well. So thank you very much for that. So if someone wants to get hold of you and have a chat with you, or potentially embark on your 30-day gratitude workshop, which, as I said, I think that was the missing link for me when people bombarded me with, make sure you write 3 things you're grateful for. I'm like, ooh, I was not in the right place to be left to my own devices. I think if I had had the support along the way, it would have made a massive, massive difference. So how can people get hold of you?
Absolutely, yeah. So the website is happylifehabits.co.uk. That's the best place to connect into. And there's also Linktree, Happy Life / Happy Life. So Linktree is spelled linktr.ee / Happy Life Habits. Both of those, connect back with each other, as well as allow, if you want to connect on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, as well as access some of the different events and materials I've got available. Those will let you find those in that way. And the other thing, really, just kind of wrap up and kind of say on this is, the practice of gratitude isn't just there if you're feeling low or if you're feeling sad. It's definitely powerful for that. But even if you're feeling happy, it can deepen your practice and help you, sustain that happiness and build your resilience, so you don't fall as far and you bounce back quicker. And life is going to throw us curveballs. So, as I said, it helps with challenges as well as opportunities. And the daily practice of gratitude, 5 minutes. So, like we said, that journal, 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, with science has shown increases our well-being by 10%. So,
oh wow, that's massive.
It's one where, I don't get tired of trying to relay these benefits and encourage people to try it, experiment with it, and see what works for them, and support them. And I've benefited big time, as I've shared. Redundancy, work-related stress, death, grief, dealing with those. And I've been able to respond better with these things than I would have without these practices. Yeah. So for me, it's so powerful.
As you say, life does always, throw something to us. We've seen it recently with COVID, obviously, people who were perfectly happy, successful, and everything suddenly have their life changed around overnight. Yes. And as you say, grief, lots of different things that happen, be it suddenly or not so suddenly. So definitely, I can see where it can help in both. But 10% improvement on our well-being is just incredible. Yeah. So for those that are interested, the details on how to get in touch will be in the comments, in the description of this video. So don't worry about it if you didn't write it down. And anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
Yeah, definitely. So I was doing I was reminded of, and I did some more research again, and I'll explore this with you, Anne, where the practice of gratitude and weight loss working together. So we can look to develop something in that space as time allows, and you bring your expertise on weight loss, and I can bring my expertise on gratitude, and we can develop something for the audiences at some point in time. So there's that, and really just for everyone, just to take away that, give it a go, practice it, but be aware that you will feel an instant shift often when you do feel practice gratitude. It moves from the head to the heart, and you get the feeling. But also, it's over time, and that repetition and that repeated practice with all good things. It takes time, and then it will, really, make a massive difference. And Robert Emmons, one of the gratitude researchers, what he shared is um, the practice of gratitude has dramatic, lasting, and positive results every time. And that's certainly been my experience. So with that, I just say, thank you, and for the opportunity to share. Really grateful, and thank you for the audience for watching and listening to this podcast. Appreciate it.
Lovely. Well, thank you for being a fabulous guest. And if you have enjoyed this episode and you haven't watched the previous ones, go back and watch the previous ones. In any case, subscribe to the channel, and then you will be alerted when the next episode come out. So thank you very much, and see you all in the next episode. Bye, everyone.